So I got run over by a car and I have all this metal inside of me, and I've had this back pain for 10 years now. It's about to be 10 years. I'm about to be 25. It was when I was 15. And so it was something I was living with. And I'm so happy to say now that it's been almost 6 months doing chiropractic that I have like 70 to 80% of my pain just completely gone. And it's funny because I used to tell my girlfriend all the time, like, oh, my back hurts. And that's something I used to say every single day. It was just like, oh, she's used to saying that. Oh, let me give him a massage or medicine, whatever it may be. Now I'm like, when's the last time I said my back hurts? And she's like, oh my God, like you don't say it no more, like how you used to. Right. So that's been the transformation, and I realize it's very important for me to continue coming and making sure that, my health is my number one priority.
Yeah. Welcome to the Miracle Academy. This is your host, Scotty Cooper, and this is where miracles are expected. Welcome to the Miracle Academy podcast. This is your host, Scotty Cooper. My guest is Marco Champion. Marco was on episode 14, using the power of meditation to rewire your mind. And we've got a update episode now.
So yeah, this is part 2.
I'm excited to have you back.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys for having me back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I always love coming into this office. Like, nice. There's always good vibrations.
Yeah, we love having you. It's really fun.
Yeah.
Let's hear a little update. Where are you at now with your health and your journey?
Oh my God. So when we first did the podcast, I think I was a month into chiropractic, maybe 2 months at the most, which I started seeing very little, changes with my pain that I would have in my back. As you guys know, like I got ran over by a car. If you guys didn't see that or hear about that story, go check back to episode 14. So I got ran over by a car and I have all this metal inside of me, and I've had this back pain for 10 years now. It's about to be 10 years. I'm about to be 25. It was when I was 15. And so it was something I was living with, and I'm so happy to say now that it's been almost 6 months doing chiropractic that I have like 70 to 80% of my pain just completely gone. And it's funny because I used to tell my girlfriend all the time, like, oh, my back hurts. And that's something I used to say every single day. It was just like, oh, she's used to saying that. Oh, let me give him a massage or medicine, whatever it may be. Now I'm like, when's the last time I said my back hurts? And she's like, oh my God, like you don't say it no more, like how you used to. Right. So that's been the transformation, and I realize it's very important for me to continue coming and making sure that, my health is my number one priority.
Yeah. One of the things I kind of heard you say in that is that physical transformation, but also kind of a little bit more of the mental and mindful transformation. What things have you seen in your life in regards to that?
Yeah, definitely. And that's a good question, because typically when I tell my story and I talk about healing, and I talk about how meditation has helped me heal my body, people are very focused on the fact that I was able to heal my body. And I think that was a side effect to healing my mind. And I think focusing on the mindset and focus on healing the mind is gonna, create the result of healing your body and all that stuff. And you talk a lot about it here, with belief. Like you gotta start with belief. If you don't believe it's gonna happen, it's not going to happen, right? Like there's very little that your body can do if your mind doesn't believe it.
Right.
And when I got into the accident and I started healing my body just subconsciously without even me thinking about it, just because I was proactively thinking positive thoughts. Now that I look back at it, in retrospect, I realized I was thinking positive. I was believing it would happen. And I wanted to know more. I wanted to know, okay, so my mindset was the reason why I was able to heal my body. Yet I'm still here, injured, and I'm not able to be a pro skater like I wanted to be. I was 16 years old the year after my accident. And I got in a very depressed state. I was depressed for a couple years. It got to the point, I don't think I talked about this in the last podcast, but it got to the point where I thought about suicide. Wow. And I really wanted to just end my life because I was just sad. I was just sad because my purpose in life was gone. And that purpose was skateboarding. And it was something that I was extremely passionate about, but something I wanted to do and pursue for my whole life. And that's when I was able to find meditation. And luckily I did, because if I didn't, I don't know who I would be today, or I don't know if I would be here if it wasn't for that. And meditation was the key. Really, it really was. But it was a key to help me heal my mind.
Right.
And through the healing of the mind, I was able to tap into an energy where I was able to heal my body. So there was a couple things that I started learning, because as I started meditating, and I was doing it just to feel good. As I said in the last podcast, I meditated because I was depressed, and when I meditated, I let go of all those negative thoughts that started coming, into my mind when I was depressed. And by letting go of those negative thoughts, that's the feeling of, I feel good, right? Because I don't have these negative thoughts bombarding me.
Right.
And a couple months after meditating consistently, right? Like I didn't just meditate one day and say, hey, I feel great. I'm just gonna go walk. I'm just gonna go walk and live my life now. Like it didn't happen that way. I had to meditate every single day for at least 3 months until I started feeling like a huge effect in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized was I didn't meditate and my body was healed, which is what I thought so at first. No, I meditated and I healed my mind.
Uh-huh.
And my mind started to gain an awareness that I didn't have before on how this reality really works, or how this energy around us can be used to help heal. That was really interesting was that I healed the mind. And there's ways to heal the mind beyond meditation that I learned through like YouTube and like searching it up and research, because your mind's like a muscle, right? Yeah. And there's ways to work out your body. There's ways to work out your arms and your biceps and your legs. There's the same thing with the mind. There's a couple of different ways to work out the mind. Mm-hmm. And I stumbled across a couple of them, and I still use them to today.
Wow. So you said like that, you had that awareness. What did that awareness like kind of also look like for you? Once you had the awareness to like, okay, I can heal my mind. What thoughts were you thinking? Like what was it like being from your point of view at that time?
It's interesting because my quickest thought that I had was I need to share this. Mm-hmm. Like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Like, this is easy. Throughout my whole life, I was realizing that things were so hard. It's going to be hard to do this. It's going to be hard to be a pro skater. It's going to be hard to get good grades. It's going to be hard to heal my body. And then when I had that awareness shift, I realized, oh, no. Everything's actually easy. What's hard is is not having the right mindset. What's hard is, thinking differently and expecting something else to happen.
Yeah.
That's hard. But as soon as you align your mindset to what you want in life, then everything becomes easy. Now you're just go with the process, because I know and I believe that I'm going to achieve it as long as I go with the process.
Yeah. Another thing you and I have talked about a lot too is that a lot of people have this like negative programming that's been instilled to them, whether it be a mother, father, teacher, preacher, someone that they look up to, or the media. How are you able to recognize that, navigate around it, and find your truth?
Yeah, and it starts with awareness, right? We're all programmed. We're all programmed, whether we like it or not, by our environment, by our parents, by our teachers, by our religions, if we're instilled with religion, whether they be negative or positive programming. It's programming. Our mind's like this computer, and what you input, you output into your life. And a lot of people are not realizing what they're really inputting, right? Like I started not watching commercials. I started gaining awareness. I'm like, I don't need to feed my subconscious mind things I have no idea what's being fed. And it came with knowledge. Like knowledge is what gained the awareness of it, right? I started researching, I started studying, and I realized that your subconscious mind is literally taking in everything that you're seeing and putting it right there,
right,
in your mind for you to live the life that you live. And so that's the whole, environment and how people raise you kind of affects the way that you live. And so I started to realize that I'm like, okay, how do I reprogram my mind? Right? So what can I input into my senses, into my hearing, into my sight, into my taste, right? Eating healthy foods, watching things that were good for my mind. And this was like, I became boring to my friends. They're like, what? You don't watch Family Guy anymore? Like you want to watch, some personal development stuff? Or, oh, you don't want to go eat California burritos with us anymore? You'd rather just, eat something, a salad, and eat healthy at home? It's just like, I became this boring person. And that's the hardest part, because like you're so used to your environment, you're so used to the friends kind of doing the same things, right? You need to have a change. I started to do that, right? I stopped playing video games. I just started programming. I just wanted to see what would happen if I programmed my mind with nothing but positive things, like information, knowledge, wisdom, and positivity. And so audiobooks, videos on YouTube completely shifted from skateboarding and a bunch of other stuff that I was usually watching to mindset and like positive affirmations. So that was the first thing, was to gain the awareness in that and the knowledge on how to program my mind in different areas of what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, and what I'm tasting.
So someone watches this video and they say like, okay, you know what? I think I want to be boring, right? I want to let go of Family Guy, and I want to let go of like watching those other things. Encourage them. What would you say like the first thing they should do?
Yeah, and if they want to do that, right? Because what I said was boring.
Right.
It's boring because it's the discipline that you need to instill in order to achieve whatever you want in life.
Right.
And if you want to be someone that feels like they have complete control of everything that's happening in their life, and when they feel like it doesn't, it's like, oh, it's God. It's like the universe aligning things in my favor for the future, right? Like that's the way that I'm navigating life now, because I'm so tapped in and tuned in, and it feels amazing now. And all these routines that were boring are now fun to do,
Right.
and they're a part of my daily stuff. And so what I would recommend is start with one habit. You don't have to bombard your whole life. I mean, I went cold turkey, to be honest. I completely was like, all right, everything.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to do. It's actually really hard to do that.
Right.
It's easier to instill one habit and take out what's bad and put in what's good, and then continue doing that and compounding those habits. There was this book called the Atomic Habits. I don't know if you read that or you've seen that book.
I've seen it. I haven't read it.
Yeah, it's a good book. All these little habits that you have in your life make up who you are. And we don't realize that. We don't realize the little things that we do make up the bigger picture. So I would try to find a positive counterpart to anything that's negative in your life. So this is something I talked about in my podcast. There's positive counterparts to a lot of major negative either emotions or actions that we're doing in our life. For example, lust, right? Like the positive counterpart to that would be love. Seeking love when you're feeling that feeling of lust. A negative thing would be greed, right? As soon as people start making a lot of money, it's easy to slip into greed, right? To slip into that negative emotion, feeling, and action. Positive counterpart to greed. What's the positive? Do you know the positive? What's the opposite of greed?
I mean, to me, I would think maybe more like a value creation kind of thing is what that seems like to me. Like, how can I, instead of lusting for money, being able to provide value for another? But
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a word for the opposite of greed, right? And it's giving. What you're saying, something like around giving. It's funny how this universe works, because the more we give, the more we receive in either information that can help us in the future, or just straight positive energy.
Right.
And that positive energy can be transmuted into whatever you want in life. So it's interesting. So yeah, I would say find positive counterparts to some of the negative things that you're doing. And a lot of times here in America, like gluttony can be one of those negative things, right? Just eating too much.
Right.
At night, and like you're just eating a bunch of junk food, and you realize, oh, I'm a little bit more overweight than what I should be, right? Like, well, what's the positive counterpart to that, right? Like, how can you instill discipline to not do that? So those are some of the little things I would say. Just start off with small habits that you see that you're doing, and just try to just change that.
Yeah.
And if you can do that one by one, then eventually your whole life you have a bunch of positive habits, and that compounds to a very positive life.
I think one of the things that kind of stood out that you said was like when you're giving, how like things just come back to you, right? And the universe does that. I think I've been really experiencing that a lot firsthand, because like I always focus on like giving out of abundance. Like I'm going to give a lot to other people. And I remember I actually just had this conversation with one of my interns. Whenever we hit like certain metrics and goals, I have all my team fill out a sheet, and we get them like different gifts and stuff.
Oh,
like
cool.
for instance, Dr. Moses, he got a grill, and he had it in the office, and he really wanted a grill, and that was like his exciting thing.
That's cool.
But one of my interns said to me, he goes, "Oh, I don't feel like I deserve it." And I said, "All right, why is that?" He said, "Well, I don't feel like I've given enough." I said, "Well, you're here, getting college credit for what you're doing, and you're changing people's lives every day, and you're giving your time, your energy, your focus."
Yeah.
And the thing is that what I believe, like, you can't truly give big if you can't also receive big.
Yeah.
I said, "Dude, you're giving big. I want you to be able to receive big too."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Okay, wow, like, all right, like, I'm good with that." He goes, I watch you every day. I want to give like you. I want to be able to live that abundance like you. He's like, "It's incredible because I sit in your office and I see like all these practice members that want to help you with your house, right?"
Yeah.
And they're like for instance, this morning I was there with a guy that was helping me with the flooring just to volunteer his time, right? Because like I give out of abundance so much, he gives out of abundance to me too. And it's like I didn't even ask for it. It just happened.
Yeah.
But I had that conversation with my intern, and being able to instill that into people is really special, because I feel like a lot of people, like you said, don't know that.
Yeah, there's like this law of exchange, and there's different exchanges between people that I was taught within the law there's 4 different sections. In the first one, the criminal exchange.
Uh-huh.
When you give something to somebody, or if someone gives something to you and you don't give anything back, and there's like, it's just pretty much, that's a criminal exchange, right? Or if you steal something,
Right.
it's a criminal exchange. A fair exchange would be you give something to somebody and someone gives you something back that's of equal value, whether that be time, materialistic, whatever it may be. It just feels fair.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have an abundance exchange,
Mm-hmm.
right? And an abundance exchange is where we want to be all operating out of, is when someone gives us something, we give them more, right? And when we do that, we end up getting more. And that's how we're living in the abundance when we're creating abundance exchanges. So that's something I was taught. It was called the law of exchange.
Wow.
Yeah.
That reminds me of like a John Wooden quote. It said like, you can never really have, I think it's like, I might be misphrasing it a little bit, but it's something along the lines of, you can never have a perfect day unless you do something for someone that they'll never be able to repay you. Once I heard that quote, I really internalized it, and I focused on like every interaction I have, being able to do something for someone that they will never be able to repay me. And I'm good with that. Like, I'm good with the fact that like I'm gonna give out of that abundance, and
you attract that, and that's
Right.
what you attract, because what you put out, you attract. So if you just literally talk to people and say, "I just want to make them smile," like they're gonna leave talking to me smiling.
right.
You're gonna receive that as well. People are gonna talk to you, and you're gonna be smiling, and they're gonna leave your conversation with the same type of feeling,
Right.
right?
You know, actually, I kind of thought of something that just happened this last week.
Okay.
So we've got our nonprofit organization, right?
Mhm.
The Coop Foundation.
Yeah.
So kind of fun. You know, last name's Cooper.
Kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Right. So it stands for the care of other people.
Mhm.
Every year we sponsor needy families at Christmas, right? And a couple years ago we decided to help some wounded warriors. And there was a gentleman that he had his family, he and his family were living, I think, like in a garage or something. We did the interview with them, and normally we ask the interviewers to ask, like, is there anything really special that we should know, or you just like to throw out there and we can see what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a budget for per kid and per family to be able to help at this big event we do every year, this Christmas event. Anyway, we have this gentleman that he says, my favorite thing to do is mountain biking. And I've always wanted a real mountain bike.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can barely walk, but I want this. So I said, all right. So I find a local bike shop, I tell them the story, and the guy goes, all right, I'm going to give you a super high-end bike. I'm going to give you 50% off. But it's still like a $900 bike. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to go to work. I'm going to figure this out. So I call our imaging center, Shin Imaging, that I think you guys went to.
Yeah.
I called the president, Charlie, and I told him the situation. He goes, all right, I'll bring a check over today for you. So he donated money to buy this bike for this guy.
Nice.
So anyway, we buy the bike, and it's the coolest bike I've ever seen. We get it, and we have the event, and the guy, we give it to him, and he just starts bawling his eyes out. He embraces me, won't let go, like tears are on my shirt from him. He hugs my dad, he hugs the guy Charlie from the imaging center. It's just so impactful.
Yeah.
Right? I haven't heard from him in a few years. I get a phone call on Tuesday, and it's him, it's Gabe. Gabe says, hey, this is long overdue. I don't know if you remember me, but from a couple years ago, you gave me a bike. I said, yeah, I remember that. He goes, I just want to let you know that I started my own business. I have a farm where I grow all my own food. I donate extra food to veterans in need. I made a biking club for veterans to be able to ride and to live and to be happy and to like have a different outlet. And every single day, I thank God you came in my life. And I was like, dude, I'm like trying not to cry on the phone. I'm like, this is incredible. Like, this is something I did years ago that I didn't even think about, right? It was just something that was just part of my life that, like, I saw an opportunity to change something for someone. There's one point in my life that everything changed, and it was that one interaction I had with you and your team. And that just happened this week. It was amazing to hear. He goes, just want to let you know also, I just bought a house. He goes, I've completely changed my life from that one spark.
That's amazing.
And it was cool because I think that that's something that you and I share in common is we give those sparks to people.
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that you and I are both really good at that and good at finding ways to do that.
Yeah, it reminds me of a couple of stories myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would get messages in my DMs from when I first started the company, and it was funny because now we're working with, like you guys and other companies that are like, doing things on a bigger scale. But in the beginning, I was working with a lot of people who, were just starting off when it comes to just achieving success and all that stuff. And I get these long DM messages, like if it wasn't for like just connecting with you and you showing me like the real like potential I have to be able to be someone in this world, I wouldn't be in Europe right now doing this, doing that. And like I just love those messages from people because I'm just like, it was just a conversation I had with you, or just like I just got you a camera and a tripod for you to like be able to like film yourself to do some content. And so yeah, no, I feel that for sure. And I bet you that guy like probably feels amazing now.
Yeah.
Coming from, live in the garage to buying his own house, and then you give him a bike, you start a bike club, like that must feel amazing for you.
Yeah, it was very emotional. I shared the story in my team meeting, and all my team was just so happy, and that's part of our foundation is like we want to be able just to like have a spark to show someone in the world cares about you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can take that spark and create something,
that's the best.
That's really what my goal is.
Totally. Yeah, because if you just give sparks and they don't do anything with it, like it doesn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
It feels good when they actually like do something with their life and they actually like, go in that direction, and it's just like, wow, like I'm so proud.
Yeah.
So I just told someone like, hey, what do you do? They asked me, and I said I'm a gardener because I plant seeds.
Wow.
In people's minds, and those seeds hopefully, and some of those seeds don't grow, but some of them do into like beautiful flowers, and it's amazing connecting with those people later down the road.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I think we're just gardeners.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why we're wearing green.
Yeah, exactly. I know. It's the first time I wore it too. It's just perfect.
Yeah, right?
Synchronicities.
That's right. That's
Absolutely.
right. We should talk a little bit about that, like gardening, right? Like planting seeds in the minds of others and spreading positivity.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so simple that I think everybody could do. Like I think everybody could just like say one thing today to someone that can change someone's day,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you never know if that day can transform into someone's life,
Right.
because some of the things that you just talked about, right? It was just happening one day,
Right.
and now look at you years later, the guy calls you back and it's like, wow, your whole life.
I think that's definitely something that I try to do a lot is even if it's like at the bank, right? Like the guy says, oh, like, are you, like, for instance, it was like a Friday. The guy's like, are you glad it's Friday? It's like, why?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, it's the weekend. Why? It's like, well, you can do whatever you want. I was like, I do whatever I want all the time. I'm happy. He's like, well, if you like doing whatever you want, you could be happy. I'm like, or I could just be happy. He was confused because like he's just used to the normal thing of people saying like,
I can't wait for it's Friday.
Yeah, thank God it's Friday, or like I'm gonna do this weekend and blah blah blah. And I think it was a mind shift for him. He was like, it was a pattern interrupt because he's just used to like, how's your day? Well, like the normal things he does.
Yeah.
Takes the car, does this, and when I said that, he like it shocked him, like pulled out of the matrix,
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, why don't you just do something that makes you happy every day? Why don't you be happy first, and then you can do whatever you want. You can have things you want to have, but be that first.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, okay, I didn't think of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's super interesting. Pattern interruption, like it happens a lot, and having the awareness that it's happening is the key, right? Because when you know that someone's coming into your life, or someone says something to you, and it could be a complete stranger, you have that feeling like, like it was like a synchronicity or deja vu. Like these feelings that we all have, those are opportunities, right? You got to really think about that, about why this has happened, because I think everything happens for a reason, right? And I don't think there's anything left on chance. I think there's all big purpose into why we're all moving around and doing what we're doing. And when you act with intention, when you act with purpose, that thing happens a lot more. More people come into your life, you start catching those things. So whenever you guys realize that, oh my God, I was told this, or like this just happened for a reason, really sit down and think about that, right? Just really think about why that happened, because then you start getting information from the universe, from God, whatever you believe in, that, hey, this happened because of this. And that's how you can change your life, or that's how you can move in a direction that's going to get you closer to your fullest potential.
Yeah, That's awesome. I totally align with that and agree with that. I really like the idea of us being gardeners. And
Yeah, we're just gardeners. We should have our cover here, just us gardening.
Yeah. You go over to my house. We're doing yard work.
Yes,
today.
let's do it.
Awesome. Well, cool. Thank you. So for people that want to watch more and hear more about you and your mindset, how do they find you?
Watch the last episode 14, first and foremost, and then on Instagram or other social media platforms, YouTube, just Marco the Champion, pretty much across all social media platforms.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much for the follow-up episode.
Yeah.
This was cool to deep dive with you, and I'm excited for all of our adventures together.
Yeah, we gotta start a side series called The Gardeners.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. Awesome. This is the Miracle Academy podcast with Marco Champion, and I'm Scotty Cooper. Thank you so much.